Welcome to Practicing Life podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Pitzer. So, we are at the start of a new year. And one of the things I want to bring you today is animal medicine. So, do you use animal medicine? Do you know what it is? Do you need it? Animal medicine is something that I practice on a daily basis, but at the start of a year, I will pull a card, an animal medicine card, to guide me for this year. It kind of lets me know what the theme of the year is. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to start this off for you. For me personally, I like to pull this card at the first full moon of the year. That is coming up on Thursday, January 25th. It is a full moon in Leo. So you'll have the Leo properties to that. Anyway, this is a part of my New Year resolution, and that's why I want to share it with you. That does not mean that this is what you should do. You need to figure out what works best for you, what connects with you, what resonates with your soul. I know plenty of people who pull a card at the first day of the year, and this is part of their New Year's resolution as far as what the masses or the large majority of people do. So this is what works for me. You have an example of what works for other people, but I encourage you to find exactly what works with you because everything is energy and energy feeds you. And kids, we often talk about how much energy they have, and if we could just capture that energy, like we would be a millionaire. People talk like this all the time. Well, this is kind of like a hack to life is knowing what resonates with you will feed you the type of energy to sustain you. And sometimes when you feel really drained, I mean, there can be like 3D stuff going on. You could have had, rough day at work and accidents on top of that and mistakes and all these things piling up and your brain making a big problem out of this, right? That's definitely that kind of stuff. But when you really start practicing things that feed you energy, then you can tell a big difference. And this is one of the things that I do is medicine cards. So what are they? What do they mean? Let's go through it. So animal medicine cards, they are also known as animal totems, spirit animals, animal guides. So there's multiple names for them. And the reason they are called medicine is because they are like spiritual guides that are in the animal um, form, I'm going to say, but they come alongside of you and they can provide you with wisdom, strength. They can help you understand a situation that you're going through and looking at it from an animal's perspective. So, what that animal serves as or what that animal is known for can kind of guide you in a situation. And because of that, they really help you on an energetic and soul level, and they can provide healing to your soul. This is one of the reasons they are considered medicine. They have that healing effect to your soul, to your energy level. As I mentioned, they feed you energy sometimes too. So, this is why they're considered animal medicine. What it is a spiritual guide. So totem is a spiritual being. It can also be a sacred object or a symbol. It can represent a tribe, a clan, a family, an individual. So just know that in general terms, it is a guide for you and it gives you wisdom. And I can also lean on them for strength. So they have been using animal medicine, like, historically for years, and this is in Greek mythology. This is coming back to the roots of our world, that shamans use this, Native Americans use this, and maybe not every single tribe, but there are some Native Americans that have used this. They have found art depictions on cave walls and rocks showing them using animal medicine. So if you think back to like Native American times, you may have heard stories that when people were facing life obstacles, they would go to their elders, and the elders might do things like throw some objects onto the ground and see what comes up, like maybe a bear's claw or a particular animal's tooth or things like this. And so this is kind of the ancient practice of where it came from. So nowadays, they have these beautiful printed cards. So for those of you on YouTube, you can see my cards here. But for you out there that are listening, you can go onto Amazon or your favorite spiritual shop and look and see what type of animal totem cards exist and what resonates with you. I'm a big preacher that there's not just one way of doing things, and finding what connects to you, the cards that connect to you is definitely important. So just because I use one particular set of cards does not mean that that's what everybody should use. So find what works best for you, because again, being authentic and really connecting to what your heart desires is your power. That is like your superpower. And I always encourage you to go towards that, lean towards that in that direction. So, anyway, in the Native Americans, which is where my book and deck of cards come from, they believed that there are 9 animals that guide you throughout your life. And they represent different things like your north gate, your south, your east, your west. So your cardinal directions, your feminine side, your masculine side. So there's all these things above, below. So that's a common saying that you may or may not have heard, but there's a saying that's out there that's as below, so it is above, as below, as above, so it is below. Okay, so you get my gist on that. But there are these animals that guide you, and they also believe in the Native American tribes, many of them, that there's one animal that just particularly is your lifelong animal and it guides you throughout your life. So, why I do this at the new year is because when I pull this card, it kind of lets me know the theme of this year and what animal I really can lean on throughout the year. It lets me know my overall life lesson for this. So, some of the things that people do in the New Year's is they set goals. Maybe they want to go to the gym. 95% of people have some type of fitness goal that they set for the new year. But you could have other goals too. So, one of the things that I am doing is I am creating a vision board. I'm thinking about what I want to happen specifically for this year. And so along this practice, I am also drawing a card to let me know what I'm going to need to help me through this year. So for like instance, one year I drew the blue heron. And that was one of the years that I was going through a time where I really felt lost. And the blue heron card was a perfect card for that because it was all about your self-identity, your self-love, like sticking to your gut and your instincts and following that. So that is an example of how this particular card guided me when I would feel lost. I would go back to this card, I would hold it, I would think about it, meditate with it. But even outside of that, there's a lot of days I used to pull a card daily. In the very beginning, I was like, yes, I'm pulling a card daily. Um, but over time, I pull them as I need them or as something pops up in my mind. I also do this for my clients. I used to do this as kind of a side business just for fun and pleasure because I feel a connection with cards. For me, I can feel like an energetic spark with cards. So when people ask me a question and I shift through the cards, I just feel a particular card and then I know it's for that person. And like now, now that my life is what it is, I just include this to my clients that are doing kind of one of my packages with me, not just one-offs, but people that are going to be working with me for a series of weeks consecutively. Then I will pull cards for them. But to be fair, I do pull cards for like my closest friends and my parents and whatnot as people, close to me may need assistance. And like I said, I pull cards for me too. So let's say I'm having something that feels really overwhelming in my life. I might turn to my cards, I might flip through them, ask them the question that I need guidance on, and I'll pull a card and then I can help myself, help my consciousness shift through how I'm looking at this and how I'm perceiving this, or how I may need to look at it differently. So, when you pull cards in this particular deck, you can have cards that are right side up or they can be flipped down. So when you have a card, let's say snake is one of my 9 animals. So snake is a transmutation card. So it's you are really transforming your life, and there's layers that you're shucking, right? And so when you get a card like that upside down, an example of what that would be like, okay, that there's change that needs to happen in your life, but you're scared to face it. So like that's like an example of an upside down card. Like you might be scared to face it, but this is going to happen anyway. So I'm bringing this to you today so you understand what it is, how you can use it. There are different types of animals. There are several decks out there. I've presented you with the history, but one of the things I want to talk to you about is a lot of people who do pull these cards. One of the things that I commonly hear is like, I pulled this card and it doesn't resonate with me. I would tell you to take a deep dive at that point. One of the people that I got recently, they pulled a card and they're like, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Well, these cards choose you. You think you're choosing it, but these cards choose you. And this is one of your first lessons in learning to trust intuition and things that happen because everything happens for a reason. And this card shows you, and it knows that you're going to need this particular medicine, whether you asked it for that day or for that year. So it knows. And this is an opportunity for you to learn to get like out of your blind spots and to think about things from a different perspective. So oftentimes when I have a client that is practicing doing this and they pull a card and they're not sure that they've done this right, this is when I kind of sit down with them and I explain what I see, my perspective, right? Because when you are the one pulling the card, you have your glasses on, your lens on, your sometimes I say brainwashing, but your brain programming. And so with that brain programming, sometimes you can't see how this card is such a great benefit or asset to you right now. And so one of the things I do is I sit down and help people with that perspective. But you can do this as well. Journaling helps. Doing things that kind of get you outside of just consciously thinking, because thinking leads to more thinking. It doesn't necessarily lead to answers. But when you get into something like journaling, what's really interesting is you move from one side of your brain to the other side of your brain. So even though there is some thinking going on while you're journaling, this other side of your brain is coming in and it's unfiltered. And that can really help you see some insights that you weren't able to see through your conscious analytical side. Okay, so these cards choose you. Trust the process. And then I guess I want to talk to you just because I'm making this short and sweet. I really want these videos as well as audios to be something that you can listen to like on your way to work or just really quickly. So I'm just hitting you with the good stuff, leaving you wanting more, right? I want to just talk to you for a second because one of the things I mentioned, these cards can strengthen you. And I literally mean strengthen, like you go to the gym and get strengthened, but maybe not so muscular based. Um, when I have a situation and I pull this card, I can I can ask this particular animal, like, give me your strength. So, for instance, like elk. Elk is known for endurance. It can run and run and run, and it outruns what is chasing it. So, I can pull this card and look at my situation and know that this is what this animal represents and is known for. And I can ask this animal for its stamina as I go through this situation. That's what I mean by strength. And for me, it does resonate. It does help. And I would say that it also helps you, even if you may not be as intuitive or spiritual in this woo way. I would say that it does. You just may not have the awareness of it because everything is energy. Everything is energy. And so these animal guides, these animal medicines, they're feeding you energy. And this energy really can sustain you and it can help you. And that brings me to one of my final points is that this is a spiritual practice. So this is something that I'm not going to be joking around or taking lightly. This is energy. And this guidance coming to you is something that should be honored and respected and in gratitude. And whether or not you do that, that is a choice that you will make, and it's going to impact your spiritual journey. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you that it's in your best, it's in your best circumstance, or however that phrase goes. It serves you best to really pay respect to animal medicine. So, one of the things I would tell you is that practicing the gratitude, thanking the animal, even when they tell you something or bring something to your likeness that you don't like. One of my cards that I pull frequently is Coyote. Now, many of you have read fantasy books and you know Coyote is the trickster. I get him all the time. And from a personal ego level, I do not like trickster. All right. But I also have so much gratitude, respect, and love because it's also a sign for me that I'm taking life too seriously and it's time to have fun and it's time to stop like thinking I can outsmart the system or outsmart whatever. And so it serves me. And therefore I respect it, even if I don't particularly want that medicine today. It's my ego that doesn't want it, but my soul knows that I need it. And that is what this is. This is a spiritual practice that resonates with your soul, and your ego can get in the way. Your ego is going to doubt why you got this card. Your ego is going to tell you you did it wrong, but your spirit knows what is true and what is right for you. And that's where trust is going to come in. And you have to tell your ego to just take a step back and see how it pans out and allow the trust to be there. So we've kind of covered everything I want to cover. You know now that this is a spiritual practice, that we are all connected, that these animals are here to guide you. And I would just tell you, like, even if you don't have cards, you have no intention of buying cards, I would tell you to just open up that awareness within you. Maybe check your past and open your eyes to what's going on now, because you are going to notice that there is a certain animal that just constantly pops up in your peripheral. And the more you pay attention to that, the more you're going to notice that it's calling you. So for instance, maybe you see like a penguin on the zoo, like you see it on the wall, right? You think nothing of it because there's all these animals there and there's animals marked everywhere. But then you see a penguin embedded into somebody's shirt, and then you see a penguin commercial on TV, and then you hear your friends talking about what they would do if they had a penguin. And then you hear, happy feet, right? And so all of a sudden you're noticing there's a lot of penguins showing up in your life. Well, that could be a sign that that's your animal totem for your lifelong year, but it also could be a sign of that's the medicine you need right now. And this is where I have so much fun and appreciation to the spiritual dimension, because as I go through my day, inevitably, even if I stay home all day and don't go outside my door, animal medicine will come to me. A bird will flock to my window right when I'm talking to a client. And then I know something that I need to work on either for me or for that client. So it's giving me little clues. And for those of you that are out there that have been raised in a very strict religious background that says that, this is the devil, well, you can believe what you want to believe, but these are here for you regardless of what you believe. Just because you believe something doesn't make it true. It's just what you believe because you're choosing for it to be true. And so, and that's what I do in subconscious programming. So if you're wondering why I'm saying that, a belief is just something that you have learned and you accept as true. regardless if you have evidence or not. And even if you have evidence, then I would tell you also that that is literally how your brain works. Whatever you want to see as true, you will find the evidence for. That's one of the things that's so interesting about the brain. It always wants to be right, and it loves you and it's here to support you. And so it will find you the exact evidence that you need. And so I love these little animal medicine signs that come in, right? Because they're everywhere. There's signs everywhere. And you technically can make them mean anything. So I just always ask people to kind of sit with it, and if they can, shut off that analytical brain and really start sensing, like sensing it. Like for instance, if I saw three geese flocking overhead, then, my analytical brain might pop up with a message that says it's this. But often, when you're getting some type of spiritual nudge, it's the quiet inner voice that maybe only speaks up once and you dismiss it so quickly. I'm going to do an episode on this really, really quickly in the future. So look forward to that. And another episode I'm going to be doing that I'm really looking forward to is my husband and I will be doing, he wants to call it an interview on him, but my husband and I will be doing a podcast episode together where we're really going to dive into having someone who was, identified with narcissistic behaviors and his perspective of his transformation. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this resonated with you. I hope you're pulling your cards and connecting with it, and that you're getting the medicine that is going to really further your spiritual growth, because there's many reasons that we come here to earth. There's things that we're here to do, and we have guides that are here to help us along the way, and animals are my particular personal favorite. All right, much love to you, and I will see you next week, and you matter.